Hey, Basim, how's it going? Wait, hang on. We go up as high as you can. Can you test your audio again, or just? Oh, we got you, man. Hey, y'all remember Basim Razo from the video? So,
The good God is not going to help you
yeah.
if you haven't started.
I know, man. You were a college student. How many exams?
I know what it feels like.
You were an engineer too. How many exams did you take in college for which you were completely unprepared?
To be honest, maybe one or two, because if I am not prepared, I will sweat and I cannot do anything. So I have to be prepared.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think one calculus, one thermodynamics. That was about it.
Plus,
I learned my test.
Yeah. Plus, you were a little older, right, when you started.
I was a little older. Yeah, I was 4 years older than my peers who were with me in the class.
Yeah, I think that matters a lot. These
yeah,
couple
it does.
years.
It does.
Hey, so Leah, can you go to the next slide? I'm calling this class, I don't know if this is the right title. I should have asked you what the title was, but Remembering Iraq. We're now in like the 20th year. Did you have your conversation with the New York Times, by the way?
Yeah, I just finished, like a minute before I joined you.
Okay, good. How'd it go?
Went well, like 55 minutes.
Good.
We had a problem with joining from my Samsung phone on the Twitter Spaces. There's some problem. So they are recording it, and then I will let you know when they will air it.
Okay, cool. So the reason I wanted to bring Basim in today is because we are at the 20-year anniversary of the second invasion of Iraq. We can call it the first invasion in a way. I'm not really sure how to think about that. But the students, we're working with a lot of Iraq students in our dialogues. Many of you have had conversations with Iraqi students. And this is a photo, this is a photo from this past semester, University of Mosul students. There's that handsome guy in the back there is Basim, next to the university president. And these are all students who have gone through the program. And they want to talk about the war. Whoa. Yeah. No, that's okay. Hey, Basim, tell us why. How about, I'm just going to open it up to you for a second. What does this 20 years mean for you as an Iraqi and as a person who's really also directly experienced, the worst part of war?
Well, everything has changed in the past 20 years. We went from one rule regime was the president who was responsible for everything, to what we believe a democracy now, which isn't actually that much of a democracy. But things has changed. Everybody's life has changed, some to the better, some to the worse. People who were considered from the previous regime got hurt. People who were in the resistance of the previous regime are doing very well. But all in all, it's been a really tough 20 years. We've had insurgency in 2004, 5, up to 6. And then things started to calm down until 2014 when ISIS entered Mosul. And they took Mosul for 3 years, and they destroyed the city, and people had to flee. And so it's been a really, really tough 20 years.
So let me just say a couple things about this war that I think we need to think about. We invaded Iraq it's pretty clear now since the invasion ended that we went in on false pretenses. We went into Iraq. Iraq had oil. If Iraq didn't have oil, we wouldn't have gone in, just like we're not invading many other countries where their leaders are hurting their citizens. But we decided that we wanted oil, and we wanted to control it. And the word, it's come out since then that that's pretty clear. That was a primary motivation of the United States. And we went in with the pretext of looking for weapons of mass destruction, but it's come out pretty clear now that that was a pretext in that, the intelligent. Hey, by the way, that there were a lot of lies on the part of the government of the United States. And we really broke an entire society. We really, really created an immense amount of damage. And hundreds of thousands of Iraqis died. Almost 5,000 US soldiers directly died. But here, can you go to a couple slides? Basim, I'm gonna just show a couple slides. Here's the US soldiers getting wound up to go to a war, to fight in a war over somebody else's resource, i.e. oil, that's not ours. It's the oil that's owned by other people, and we decided that we are going to go over and we're going to control that oil. And so we sent young men and women off to fight in this war. Go to the next slide. And here's, folks that are lined up on one of the battlefields in Iraq. Next slide. Here's the bombing. That's the first night, the bombing of Baghdad. And just imagine the terror that, if you're somebody like Basim here, this average, it's this nice guy. He's just an Iraqi. He's a nice guy. Imagine the terror. And these bombs are because we wanted access to the oil. We, the United States. Not because we're going to go be nice and help people. We want access to their oil, and we want to control it. So the next slide. And this is a U.S. bombing of a mosque. That was a bomb that went awry. You imagine that here in your country, whatever your country is, imagine that another country comes here and just starts bombing the shit out of us. Right? And now we're on the 20th year anniversary. And so here's our friend Basim, who's saying like, hey, I'm going to join the class on the 20th year anniversary when your country came over illegally and killed hundreds of thousands of people in my country to steal our oil. And look at like this, look at these scenes, Next slide. This is after Basim just mentioned the insurgency. This was the insurgency that did this, not US bombs. So we just unleashed a world of hurt. And next slide. This is the final slide, and I thought I would just put these images of grief. Soldiers, right, who lose their comrades, right? Iraqis who lose family members. This could be anyone's family in this classroom. This is just an average family. Or this woman who lost her husband, or these children of soldiers who died, and they're at the grave of their loved one, right? Just this happens. So, Basim, what would you like as an Iraqi citizen, as someone who lost your loved ones in this conflict, but also as a citizen of this sovereign nation? What do you want us to know? What do you want us to take away as we look at 20 years? Most of these people in the room were, if they were even born, they were just infants at the time that this started.
Just like you said, the war was started upon the idea that Iraq has WMDs, and which was proven that Iraq has no weapons of mass destruction. But the decision to invade Iraq was taken years before that. in 20 years, 1 million Iraqis lost their lives. Around 5,000 US soldiers lost their lives. Many US soldiers are suffering from mental illnesses. And I said that in a previous interview, the US soldiers will, when they go home, they will have somebody to take care of them, do therapy sessions for them. But for Iraqis, we don't have this situation. So many articles are out on the effect of war. One of them, I read one of them last night about Balad Air Base, which was called Anaconda Field. It is in a town called Balad, about 50 miles north of Baghdad. At a certain point, it was the home of 36,000 US soldiers. And the idea behind the article was the waste that was disposed every day. At the pit, they had to burn the disposal of 36,000 US soldiers, and 150 tons was burned every day. When the American soldiers returned from the air base, from the base, it was a military base, they started suffering from lung diseases. The same thing happened with the Iraqis who lived surrounding that camp. I think President Biden signed a bill helping the soldiers who got affected from these burnings, but the Iraqis have no mean of somebody taking care of their sick kids. Cancer is widespreading around these camps, and this is really inhumane. This should not happen at this time.
Yeah, let me just summarize that, because this is, Basim sent me the article. So you have all these soldiers who are there, and they're burning waste because they've got all this toxic waste, and they're just burning it. And nobody is saying that this is a problem. And so all these soldiers return to the U.S. or to the, sick, and many people are dying now of cancer and lung diseases and so on. But President Biden just signed a bill, this PACT Act, that would provide money for all the soldiers who got sick from this, right? But Iraqis who live all around this area, they don't get that. They don't get any money. We're not giving anything to them. We're not helping them. And they're just victims of this, just in a way that the Basim was a victim of this, victim of war. The thing, Basim, for me is a lot of us, we don't have an opportunity to meet somebody like you who has had an experience like you've had. And so we don't know. I think we all have the capacity to feel empathy toward others, but when we don't meet those others, then we don't know how to pull up those feelings. And then we don't know what to do with the feelings. So we just kind of push them aside, or we just imagine that we don't have them, but we don't cultivate them. But your experience, and the fact that you've been in this classroom, the fact that you're a friend of the class, the fact that you're a moderator on the stream, and you and Mr. Rashidi and so on, like, you make it real for us to say, hey, this actually affects real people. You're no different than people in this room. You could be the father of any of the students in this room.
That's why I'm proposing that we do, probably next week or the week after, I'm talking to Lisa, that we do a session on international dialogue with Iraqis for your student and my students to talk to each other and this will be an opportunity for our students, even though our students were 3-4 years at the time of the invasion, but they have been living 20 years, and the 20 years has affected everybody. So I would really like for our students to talk to your students and have an interaction with them, and I think it's a good idea for people to talk.
Yeah, and what I think is important for those of you who are in the room to know, when you, in the next few weeks, as you get on the calls, when you sign up for Global Dialogue and you're speaking with Iraqis, they want to talk about this, right? And because so many of you come from the middle class, the upper middle class, or the upper class, unless you're from a country that has mandatory service, like Korea or something, you probably don't have access. You probably don't know people in the military. You don't know people who would be like the men in the upper right-hand corner, or you're less likely to have friends who are like the 4 or 3 or 4 young girls in that lower right-hand photo, because the military, certainly in the United States, tends to come from poor and working class households. And, they're off doing the dirty work, right? So anyway, I think it's really good just to know that, Iraqi students, your students over there, Basim, what you're saying is they want to talk about this.
Yeah, just like when we came out of ISIS, our first few dialogues with Mosul, or they could talk about for us the whole semester what happened to them in ISIS. Now, one of the team leaders proposed this to me, and I talked to Lisa last night. And please, when you are in this dialogue, go ahead and ask any questions that you have, even if you think that it might be hurtful. But our students want to tell you what happened to them, to their family, what they have been going through since the war and up to now. Please, just ask questions.
Yeah. There's hardly, I think this is a comment, this is something I said in my TED Talk years ago, Basim, and I don't know if you would, I wonder what you think about it now, but when you go to Iraq, you can't find somebody who hasn't in some way been touched by this war. It's like Afghanistan. You can't find a human being that hasn't been touched by the war, either themselves directly or their neighbors or their parents or their cousins, somebody who's been touched by the war. And by touched by the war, I mean experienced some trauma in the way that Basim has experienced trauma. And when you have all these students that we're speaking with, Basim, if that's true for all of them, right? Then that means you've got on the screen, you've got people that are in some way touched in a really deep, profound, and disturbing way. Yeah. Hey, by the way, while we have Basim on the screen and we have a little bit more time, does anybody have a question for him that you'd like to ask? Anybody like to ask him a question? I mean, you watch the class with him, you know what happened, what he's been through. Does anybody want to have anything to say? Look at this. You have to smile, Basim. You look intimidating right now.
I've been reading articles for 2 days preparing for the New York Times.
Yeah.
I'm really tired.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry for smiling.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Anybody want to ask? Anybody have a question you want to ask? Anyone? All right. Yeah. What's that? Yeah, he just did an interview with the New York Times. Yeah, Basim's done a lot of interviews. Basim, you are, I think I can say this, you're very known, your ability to get past, to have this experience that you've had with your wife and daughter and brother and nephew being killed, and yet somehow not hate has been the story that people around the world have really wanted to understand how it is that you don't hate. Yeah. So maybe you could just since that's the story, that's what so many people want to know about you. And you're not alone. I mean, this is a trait I find with Muslims, by the way, and Christians, that people don't hang on to hatred. Wait. I don't think people do, right? Jews, Muslims, it doesn't, most people don't. But they don't have a chance to hear it from someone. So can you just take a couple minutes and say...
Yeah, for a few months, when I returned from Turkey after my operation, I was just sitting silently and thinking, and what should I do? And the way I felt that I can come out of the trauma that was imposed upon me was to start talking to people and telling them what had happened to me. I even wanted to meet, I wanted to meet the pilot who bombed me. Because I know what he's going through. I know he bombed me, but I know for certain if he knew that these two houses had civilians in them, he would not have bombed. I have this 100% certainty. And for me to bring calm to others, this helps me feel that I am a human, I'm doing something good. I still grieve. I'm not saying I don't think about what's happening to me. I probably cry at least 2-3 times a week, which is a natural way of getting your grief out. But when I know I'm doing something, I'm helping somebody, I'm helping people from Mosul who do not speak a word of English, filling some forms. This gives me a motivation to help people and be active and not just sitting down and being hateful and sobbing.
Yeah.
That's my personality. That's how I'm living.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, I think I always appreciate when you say that because it's important. I think that people don't. I think you're on one hand you're unusual, on the other hand you're not. Most of us, people want to get on. They don't want to hate. People don't want to hate. Yeah.
Hate will eat you inside.
Yeah. And if you can say that, my friend, you really raised the bar for the rest of us. And that if you can say yes, I don't hate after what happened to you, then I think there are a lot of things that happen to many of us that lead us to feel that negative feeling that it would be easy to let go of if we just remember you. Basim can do it.
Sam, remember the session we had, me, you, and Amalia?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That was a pivotal point for me and really, really got into me. And I felt something of that session.
Yeah. That was Amalia, right? Who worked for us,
Amalia.
who is Jewish. Yeah, that was really a cool conversation. Yeah. Well, listen. So let me let you go. We're going to get on and take a quiz here. It's strangely enough.
With the quiz.
Yeah, yeah. As if it
I forgot to help you.
as if it matters,
Yeah.
But whatever, it does. So,
you were nice.
hey, so listen, thank you, my friend, and for the class, the thing you got to remember when you get on the screen with Iraqis in these next couple of weeks, to just ask a lot of questions. Feel free, they're good. All right, thank you, Basim.
Okay,
I will
take
see
care.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right, ciao.